Okay, so we're going to go ahead and assemble the blossom basket, and we're going to begin by assembling the main base or the actual basket itself. And you're going to do that with these 6 pieces. And if you take a look at the bottom of each piece, there's actually a letter that is scored into the paper to help indicate what's what. So what you want to do is just kind of align them to spell out the word Easter, and just make sure that you have the right one in the right place, okay, because there are 2 E's, and you don't want the 2 with the holes in them next to each other. So you want to flip-flop the 2 E's so that you have hole, blank, blank, hole, blank, blank, because the handle is going to be attached to the ones with the holes with some brads. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and begin. And before we do anything, I want to begin by just folding at all of the score lines just to help get everything nice and trained. Okay, and that's also going to help make sure that as this piece is coming together, that it takes its ultimate form and shape, because it is going to be kind of bent out like this. So you want to do that with all your pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to do that with the first 2, because I'm going to show you how the first 2 go together, because the rest of them go together the exact same way. And you'll notice on some of these pieces that we do have some score lines missing on these horizontal fold areas, and that's because we didn't want those score lines to show up when you put the panels on for the letters. Okay, so that's just kind of a little aesthetic touch that we added to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin by working just section by section at a time. And in this video here, I'm using this little glue holder. It's got more of a precision tip, and it kind of helps me ensure that I'm not putting too much glue on my project. Okay, so the main goal is to just ensure that you're getting things nice and lined up along the little edge there of the score line and the edge of its neighboring piece. So you kind of look at the score line as if it was, well, your little guide. You want to make sure that it's nice and butted up against that score line as close as you can get it. Okay, and just do your best to get those nice and aligned. And just hold them in place until they get a really good hold. Okay, these first 2 are probably the most important because they kind of set the tone for the rest of the basket. Okay, so be patient while that dries. Okay, and there we go. Seems to have a good hold. And then we can move on down the line here. Okay, so I'm going to pop these out. I'm going to put glue on these next 2 sections and just slide them back under there, and just make sure that, again, we've got it nice and lined up. There we go. And just hold that until it's nice and dry. There we go. And then finally, our last little piece here. I'm going to pop some glue on him. And just follow the natural curve that we've created. Make sure that everything is nice and aligned right there. Okay, and you'll see how it's kind of creating that, just kind of forcing it into its final shape. So as long as you get those nice and aligned, you're going to be just fine. So you're going to repeat that process with the rest of the 4 panels, or the 4 bones of the basket. and then we'll meet up when we're putting this thing and closing it up. Now actually, before you continue on putting the rest of this together, we do want to place glue on these tabs here, okay, because these are actually going to get glued to themselves. They're going to create kind of like a little brim for the basket. So all I'm doing is just gluing this to itself. And then this little tab here is what's going to be used to connect one to the other. So for now, you don't need to do that just yet, but we do want to glue these down while we have the ability to lay this flat. Otherwise, later on, it might get a little difficult. So just place glue on those tabs and then just glue them to themselves, just like that. So you want to repeat that process for the other 4 before you continue assembling the rest of this thing. Okay, so I have all of the sides basically put together, and now I'm just going to go ahead and close this up. So I'm going to begin by just putting glue on the tabs for the topmost section here. And just make sure that, again, you've done the prep work of getting everything nice and folded before you start piecing all these pieces together. And I'm kind of looking at this little segment here where the 2 join, just making sure that those are nice and lined up. And then just be very patient and hold those in place just to make sure they get a good hold. And that you have them nice and flush and perfectly aligned. Just be very patient and make sure that that gets a hold, because at this point, this is pretty much a very pivotal point here. I want to make sure that this all gets a good hold, because we're really going to be finishing up the formation of this thing now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just pop these out, and I'm just going to put glue on these 2 tabs here. Try to get it out to the edge, and just pop it back under, and follow that natural curve that we've so meticulously engineered. Just hold that in place until it gets a good hold. Pretty much there. Okay, I'm just going to pop that one out. Put some glue on it. I really love this bottle. It's so much better than the bottle that the glue comes in. Can really get just as much glue as I need out of there. And just hold that last piece in. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and put glue on one of these tabs here. Doesn't really matter which one. Just make sure that you get the glue out to the edge as close as you can without making a huge mess. And then take this piece and line it up so that it's almost, well, so it's butting right up against that score mark. Okay, and hold that in place until it dries. Make sure it gets a really good hold. Give it just a few extra seconds to dry. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put glue on the rest of these pieces, and then you're going to just kind of shimmy things around until you've got everything nice and lined up. So you see what I mean here. Just going to put glue on there and just shimmy that into place and then hold it down just to make sure that you've got all that nice and glued down. Just kind of run your finger along the edge too. Use your finger as kind of like a little wall to help you feel if you've got things nice and aligned. And that looks pretty darn good to me. Okay, and then you can flip it over and kind of push down a little more to get that all into place. Then we also have this little liner piece. You can go ahead and put glue on the inside and just drop that liner piece right in there to finish off the bottom. Okay, So, kind of almost there. This thing goes together pretty easily. So now, again, we kind of did a little bit of prep work with this top piece. We folded these pieces over on top of themselves. And the idea is to create this little lip for the basket, okay? And all we're gonna do to help kind of get that in place is we have these little tabs. We're gonna put a little bit of glue on the tab, and we're just gonna flip the other piece over and just kind of hold it from underneath until it dries. Okay, this is gonna be covered up by this pattern piece here. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as we create the basic structure and that, you know, it has a good hold. It will serve its purpose. So I'm going to do the next one here. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on that little tab and just push and hold that down until it dries. And again, I'm going to work my way over to the next one. Just get it on that little tab and push and hold that down until it dries. So you're just going to repeat that process all the way around until you have this nice little lip formed. Okay, so we've got the nice lip formed. We're going to move away from that for just a minute so that we can let everything really get a good grip. And I'm going to take these pieces here. In our original unit that you saw on the website, or the display model, we used some Echo Park striped orange paper. In this case, I'm just using some orange paper. And do your best to get that aligned and make it nice and flush with the bottom. Okay, so just center it as best as you can, get it flush with the bottom. You're going to repeat that process for all 5 other panels. Okay, so I'm not going to show you that 5 times because it's redundant. Now, while we still have it like this without this decorative piece, we did include these liners for the interior. Now, these are optional. You don't really need to put them in if you don't want to, since you're probably going to have a bunch of stuff in here as far as like some crinkle fill or whatever it is that you decide to put in your basket. But if you do want to line and pretty up the inside, you totally can. And just keep in mind that there are 2 with little holes for the brads. So I'm just going to show you that real quick, the ones with the holes. Just put some glue on the entire thing and then just slide it in there. Just make sure that you've got it in place here so that the hole doesn't get covered up, and just kind of just get that into place, let that dry, and that'll really clean up the interior and make it look real nice. Okay, so that's kind of how that works, and then you can just rotate it and do the same thing with the next one. Get the glue out to the bottom there and just slide it in, push down, and just get into place. They should fit and snap in there pretty much perfectly, and then that way you've got a nice clean looking interior. Okay, so I'm not going to show all 6 of those because again that is kind of redundant as well. And you know, also at this point, before we put the little decorative element on top, I want to show you the panels here. Okay, and the panels are just going to go on just like this. Okay, and now you do want to make sure that you grab the right one. So for example here, this is the letter E with the little hole, but you can see a score line in here. Okay, so you know that you want to grab the other one. So this is where the T goes. Okay, so we're going to put the T on there. You're just going to put glue on this entire thing and just glue that on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. And so that hole actually helps with not only the alignment, but the placement. So that's on there real nice. Okay. And you're just going to repeat that process. Might as well go to the other side and glue down the E so that you know how to spell Easter correctly, because otherwise it could be kind of confusing where to put what. So that's where the E goes. Okay, just like that. So it's E-A-S-T-E-R, Easter. All right, so I'm not going to show the rest of those because they're pretty much the same thing. Now also, you do want to keep in mind, when you cut out the R, you want to keep that middle piece. And when you cut out the A, you want to keep that little middle piece as well. You're going to have to glue those on to complete the letters. Okay, so those are your panels. And now we can go ahead and put together and assemble the decorative little liner piece here, or this little trim piece. Okay, so what we're going to do is very carefully, you want to go ahead and fold all these at the little score marks here. And now, one thing to keep in mind here, there's two sides that have little slits for the handle. Okay, when you fold this, be very careful that you're folding it precisely. And what I found was helpful was to take a little spatula tool and kind of pre-crease that, or help with the folding so that you don't inadvertently actually bend or rip that little delicate piece. But should be able to do that no problem. So we're just going to get all these folded over like so. Okay, just get them nice and folded. And again, this little piece here with the handle, I'm going to save that for last so I can grab my little spatula tool or even a credit card or something to kind of help pre-crease that. And what you're going to do is there's these little tabs here that have these little score marks, and you're going to use that to glue these sides together. Okay, so go ahead and get all these folded, and I'll show you the rest of that process here. Okay, so I'm in my studio here, and what I actually did was I took a razor blade and I kind of used that to hold down that little section here as I bent this paper over, just to make sure that it bent at the right spot. Okay, so I'll show you here what I did. Like I said, you can use your little spatula, and it may help to just kind of just bend it a little bit, just to kind of get at least these segments moving in the right direction to help start forming the crease. And then I'm just going to place my razor blade right along that little score line there, and I'm going to just push my paper up against it just to make sure that it bends exactly where I want it to bend. Okay, so once we have them all bent, you're going to go ahead and go around the circle here and just glue these tabs to their neighbors and just kind of hold that in place and give it a few seconds to dry. And you're going to move over to the next one, fold that under, and place some glue on that little tab there and get that glued into place. So you see what's happening here. We're kind of creating a nice little decorative trim piece. Okay, again, just going to fold that tab. There it is. Put some glue on it. Tuck it back under. And I went a little ape with the glue there. Okay, just hold that in place. Let it dry. I got glue all over my fingers now. So this is what it should look like. Okay. And you've got these two slits here, and just remember that those are going to go on these sides with the holes for our handle. Okay, and now this lip here is going to be flush with this here. Okay, so kind of using that as a guide for gluing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put glue on this entire lip. Okay, I'm just going to pop that on there, and I'm going to just going to kind of shimmy that around, make sure that I've got it nice and aligned, and just make it flush with that lip. Okay. And then when you first put this down, it may seem like, oh, well, maybe it's not fitting right. Well, that's just the paper and it's breathing, and you'll notice that if you kind of shimmy things around, it does fit perfectly. So at this point, what I would do is I would just go ahead and put glue on that lip all the way around. Okay, because I feel like if you try to do one at a time here, by the time you get one down, it'll be dry, and then if you try to lift it up, it may become difficult to lift up, and then one side's going to rip and so on. So at this point, just do your best to get that all lined up and flush with that lip. And just shimmy some things around here and there. But that is actually working out real great for me right now. There we go. Yay. And she's looking beautiful. And there we go. Okay, so there is our cute basket. Okay, and all that's really left to do is create the handle. Okay, for the handle, we've got these two pieces. Got our texture side up. One of the pieces of the handle has a little score mark on it. And what we want to do actually, before anything, just kind of take one end of this, hold it in your hand, and train it so that you kind of start to curve it a little bit, okay? So we're going to do the same thing with this guy here. We're going to put glue on the inside portion where that score line is. We're just going to overlap this and butt it right up against that score line, and just push and hold that down until it dries. Wipe off any excess you may have on there. Okay, so just hold that in place, and then give that a little bit of time to dry. Okay, and then again, you can kind of, actually I think I maybe bent this side the wrong way, so let me just fix that. Okay, and then finally, we have this piece here. Okay, this is like a little decorative piece. Okay, now you'll see that one end here is flat. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put glue on this piece here with the little straight edge here where it's not a circle, and you're going to take the other end of this and glue it on top. Okay, so just make sure that you've got that glued on nice and straight. Give that a second to dry, and actually while you're holding it in the middle, you can go ahead and start training it, because we're going to glue this on to the handle, and we want it to kind of have a curve already. Okay, so you just need to line up the two holes. Okay, so there's that first hole there. You can see it on the bottom left-hand part of your screen. Okay, and the other one should line up perfectly with the other hole. So you're simply going to put glue on this whole thing here, and you do want to get glue around each of those little circles. Get it out to the edge as best as you can. I'm kind of rushing through this because I just want you to see how it works, and I'm not too overly concerned with the final result because I've already made two of these, and yours will look just as good as the one in our video and in our photos. So again, just put glue on this little strip here, almost there, and just glue that down. Grab both ends. I would just align the two holes first, make sure that those are nice and aligned, and then the rest of it you just kind of push and glue down like that. And we've already kind of trained the whole thing, so it should take on a natural curve. Okay, and then what you're going to do is going to slide this through that little slit that we have in the side of this piece here, and then you're going to use a brad to secure it. Okay, and you can glue that down first and then throw the brad on there. It's up to you. And you're going to do the same thing with the other side and adhere it. and then slap a brad through there. Okay, so there is your handle. So that's pretty much it for this basket. Now there are some flowers that we've included, and we have a separate video to show you how those go together and then how to ink some of the pieces. As far as how you position them, that's up to you. You can use the photo as a guide if you'd like, but again, kind of leaving that up to you so that you can have some fun decorating your own basket. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.